Welcome to the Why Coaching Works podcast monthly bonus. My name is Monty Wyatt, and I'm here to take you on a journey into the world of coaching, executive leadership development, and business growth. Part of coaching is educational, where you learn and implement proven techniques and tips. As a bonus, each month, an episode is focused on helping you grow your skills to be a better leader and a better manager. So if you're ready to begin, get your pen ready and let's get started. Before we start today's episode, here's a short message from Adding Zero's Executive Development. As CEO, you demand performance and results from your team. If you're committed to developing a cohesive, driven organization that achieves successful outcomes every single month, we need to talk. It's time to see how organizational and executive development from Adding Zeros can help. We focus on strategic planning, executive coaching, team alignment and engagement, organizational culture, and clarity of implementation. Contact me, Monty Wyatt, by booking an appointment at AddZerosNow.com. That's AddZerosNow, AddZerosNow.com. If you're ready, now is the time. I have 2 coaching spots available for 2024. Lock in your team today. Now let's begin today's episode. Welcome to the Why Coaching Works podcast, monthly educational bonus. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Monty Wyatt. If you're a CEO, executive, or business owner, then this is the show for you. We call our audience the achiever because you're always striving for the next level. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about 7 tips to being a great manager. Before we dig into being a great manager, I want to define both leadership and management. They are 2 different things, and both are needed more than ever today. Leadership is about creating passion and focus for influence. We influence others with leadership, with guiding them with energy, with excitement, with focus, with passion. Management creates competence and productivity. As a manager, you're responsible for ensuring your team is competent and they are productive in their role. So let's talk about our 7 tips, and 7 tips to be a great manager, because I think they are important for you to know how to succeed as a manager. Many of us have never been taught how to be a manager. We were successful in our role. Now we're into a manager role. So I want to give you the tips. Number 1 tip is set clear goals and expectations. This is for yourself, for your team, for your department, whatever it might be. Everyone wants to know what success looks like. That is about setting the expectation and what the goals are. Expectations are clearly stated. This is what you are responsible for, and this is what success looks like in your position. I think it's very important as a manager to ensure that everyone knows what success looks like, and you frequently talk about it so you know you're making progress and getting closer to your achievement and your expected outcomes. So, tip number 1, set clear goals and expectations. Tip number 2, delegate tasks to the right team members. When I talk about delegation, it's also about developing your people and empowering them. When you delegate, you need to ensure that everyone is on the same page on what success looks like. Let them determine how to get from A to B, but you ensure that you're on the same page for what success looks like on the task or the outcome that you're wanting for delegation. And I think it's important to develop people, but so you're not always delegating to your high performers. You're going to burn them out. You're going to get them overwhelmed. So you need to make sure you're delegating to each team member. And if you don't feel that they are up for that task, that means you haven't developed them for that task. So tip number 1, set clear goals and expectations. Tip number 2, delegate tasks to the right team members. Tip number 3, have clear priorities. Now, you could say this is very similar to clear expectations and setting goals, but when I think about priorities, I think about daily, weekly, monthly. What are my priorities? What should I be focused on? What should I be generating energy from? And making sure that my team is focused on the right priorities for that time frame. Again, whether it's daily or weekly or monthly. When I think of priorities, it's a bucket of actions or tasks that are going to help you or your team achieve that level of success that you've outlined in your goals and your expectations. So every day should be productive. Being busy is not necessarily productive. So you've got to ensure that your team is productive, and that is what priorities helps you do. Tip number 4, teach your team to be successful. As I mentioned, one of the roles and responsibilities of a manager is to ensure that your team is competent. So as a manager, your job is to teach them to be successful. Again, they need to know what success looks like. They need to know what skills they need to grow in, and you need to teach them how to do their job to the best of their ability. And that's a powerful thing. That teaching never ends. Teaching is something that is how we grow. We should be learning every single day. We should be learning every single week. So ensure that you're teaching and spending time with your team to teach them to grow in their position. So tip number 1, setting clear goals and expectations. Tip number 2, delegate tasks to the right team members. Tip number 3, have clear priorities. Tip number 4, teach your team to be successful. Tip number 5, manage yourself and your time. As a manager, you are the reflection of your team, and your team is a reflection of you. So you need to ensure that you're productive with your time and your focus. So when I say manage yourself, that is about how you use your time, how you put your energy into place, how you focus. And managing yourself and your time will rub off on your team. You need to teach them to do that as well. But this bullet is for you as a manager in your role and how you are managing yourself on a daily, weekly basis to ensure that you are productive, to make sure that you are accomplishing the things that are most important in your role and in developing your people. Next tip number 6, manage processes, not people. I'm going to say that again. Manage processes, not people. There isn't a soul on the planet that wants to be managed. We all want to be led. Yes, we need to manage things. We need to manage our department. I want to call it managing processes. And managing the processes are the steps, the actions that we're taking, or the measurements, the key performance indicators that are actionable that get us to that result that we are after. So now you're talking about the process. You're not necessarily talking about the person. When someone is not performing, you should be asking, are they following the process that we are instructing them and teaching them to do, or are they not willing to follow our process? And did we do a great job of teaching them our process? So we teach them the process. We help them ensure that they're following through. I want to use the example as a sales team. One of the actions of a process for a salesperson is the questions that you are asking. So as a manager, you can have a discussion. Let's talk about your questions that you're asking your customers or prospects in order to find the need that they might have or to see where a product may fit. And so I think it's important that you focus on that process. The process is questioning in a sales process. There's many aspects, but I wanted to point out that asking questions is a great way to discuss how they are doing in their sales process instead of focusing on the person that they're not selling enough. Let's talk about your process of asking questions as a great example. All right. Tip number 1 was setting clear goals and expectations. Tip number 2, delegate tasks to the right team members. Tip number 3, have clear priorities. Tip number 4, teach your team to be successful. Number 5, manage yourself and your time. Number 6, manage processes, not people. Tip number 7, instill accountability and ownership within your team. When I talk about accountability, I'm not talking about a whip. I'm talking about people can count on you. Countability. And that is a great team. You have a great team when people hold each other accountable and help each other be successful. When I think of accountability, it's follow through. Follow through on their commitments, and that's ensuring that they have their commitments for the week or that day, so they know what, again, success looks like in that time frame. They know what their priorities are, and we are following up. Their team can follow up. That is a culture of accountability. When the team follows up with each other, how are you doing on this activity? How are you making progress? That is a culture of accountability. And when I say ownership, I want them to take ownership for their success. And part of it is that they have to buy into what the goals are that we're working towards. So help them be their goals. What's the benefit to them in achieving the goal? How's it going to make them successful? How are they going to grow? How are they going to improve? So tip number 7 is instill accountability and ownership in your team. Here are 7 tips to be a great manager. I want to review them one more time, and I want you to make sure that you are having these in your notes so you can follow up and continue to grow in these areas. Tip number 1, set clear goals and expectations. Tip number 2, delegate tasks to the right people. Number 3, help clear priorities. Number 4, teach your team to be successful. Number 5, manage yourself and your time. Number 6, manage processes, not people. And number 7, instill accountability and ownership. I want to close today with a quote that I think is very powerful, and it's about simplicity. When I think of simplicity, it's about doing the right things consistently over time. So here's the quote: consistently doing boring things well leads to extreme opportunities. Think about that. Doing boring things well will lead to extreme performance and outperforming of your competition and other people. Doing boring things might be these 7 things that I talked about today. They aren't exciting. They aren't flashy. They aren't the brand new talk of the town. These are being a great leader. Now, I want to challenge you. There is a difference between good management and micromanagement and no management. And no management, you let them do what they want to do. Micromanagement, you're over their shoulder. Good management is guiding them, ensuring that they're competent and productive. That is your role as a manager. So thanks for joining us on the show today. I appreciate you listening and following along. Please like us, please share it, and continue to learn and grow as you are a manager or a leader as you're coaching others. And this is the show, Why Coaching Works. Keep growing and keep learning. Thanks for joining me. Thank you for listening to the Why Coaching Works podcast. I hope this episode has helped you see that individual, business, and executive impact, growth, and development that coaching provides. Please take a second to give us a thumbs up and subscribe. Each review helps me impact more people just like you and make a difference in this world. See you on the next episode of Why Coaching Works.